Good evening. We'll go ahead and get started with the South Fork Fire Community Meeting. We're going to be covering all things about the fire here in you all's community. Thank you so much for coming. We have a lot of good speakers lined up for you, and we hope at the end that we get all of your questions answered. We'll have information officers and officials at the maps scattered around, so when you have questions, if you'll hold them to the end, we'll answer those and give you some one-on-one attention with your questions at the map, so you can get that answered at the end. Right now, the South Fork Fire is at 28,878 acres. We bumped up containment today at 45%. The personnel is around 245 people. We are going to be videoing this meeting and we'll upload it to our Facebook and YouTube channels. That's South Fork Fire Nebraska. Both of those that you can look, or anybody that's not here can check out that afterwards. So if there's something that you want to look back on, you can go to those areas. We also have an NC web page, also another place that you can get information. One other place that around your communities, we have what we call a trap line, is where our information officers leave information daily at different businesses in your community. And so those communities, your gas stations, your bakery, places like that will have what you're holding there, the update and the map daily as well. So just some places that you can get some information. So we're going to start off the meeting this evening with the District Ranger, Tim Buskirk, for a welcome.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I'm Tim Buskirk. Yes, the Buskirks from Hemingford. I'm sorry if I offend anybody. So, yeah, I'm supposed to talk. Everybody knows it's been hot and dry this spring. We got no snow this winter. The meteorologist is going to go over a lot of that stuff here later. But we know we're in a bad spot. We had a 1,000-acre fire in mid-May, just across the highway here. So this was coming. We had that dry lightning storm come through Tuesday afternoon. That's when this started. Apparently it hit a fence post right on the edge of the wood reserve over there, and that's kind of what got it going. And it just wouldn't quit going, let's put it that way. So by Wednesday, we had ordered the large team to come in almost immediately that Wednesday morning, and they started showing up, and we turned, official responsibility over to the fire to these good folks that came in and helped us out. I can't say enough how thankful I am, my folks with the Forest Service, and I'm going to talk for the team, but the team and your all support of us in protecting this very important to me anyhow, and I'm sure all of you, part of Nebraska. Fort Robinson is huge, we know, to the local economy, and gosh, the fire folks on the ground saved it. Let's just put it that way. It was pretty darn awesome, and a lot of great work was put in to do that. And a lot of great work is happening right now today, and we're hoping, and I know we don't hope here, but we're really hoping that we're done with this thing here in a few days, and we can get the community back to normal, get the fort opened as soon as we can, get the forest open as soon as we can. But at the same time, we're going to have patience. We're going to live with this thing. A lot of you lived through 2012. A lot of you lived through 2006. And that kind of goes back to my history of it. But I know there was another one in 2000. And then, of course, everybody knows about the one in '89. So, we've got a history of it. We've always came together and worked hard. I expect us to do the same thing. As for the Forest Service, I know we will. And we'll be working closely with our partners. April and the city, Mike and the folks out at the fort, we'll definitely be working with those to make this a successful recovery that we can bounce back from, just like we always have here in Western Nebraska. So I guess that's really all I have. Again, I'll be here. I've got a couple of my staff here too to ask if you have questions about you know, what we're thinking, what we're seeing out there on the ground. And they'll be around at a map or something to answer those questions, or you can track us down if you know us. So again, thank you for coming. Definitely appreciate it, and hopefully you guys get some information that you've been looking for out of this meeting. So thanks.
Okay, we'll have the emergency manager for Region 23, Nan Gold.
Okay, so as she said, I'm Nan Gould with Region 23 Emergency Management, and I am going to talk a little bit about our evacuation notices. You can't see it too good up here. I apologize for the graphics, but this large red area here, that was the initial evacuation zone that we came up with, working with the incident command folks and the fire officials. I put those out at as we made the decision together that would be the best for the safety of the community and the safety of the firefighters. And then I'm gonna lose my days, I'm sorry, it's been a long week, but we just put in this green area here. That's one that we just wanted to have people just be aware that things are going on around you, and if things change, we may have to actually evacuate those areas too, as well as the yellow area up here. Just looking at the weather and how we were anticipating the fire activity to go today, we just want to make sure that everybody was ready if we needed to pull the trigger on a full evacuation. So just in an overabundance of caution. And as Tim was saying, we're in constant conversation with the fire officials, with the incident command team, and we are working to get these lifted as soon as it's safe to do so. So with that, I'll turn it back to Sonia.
I know it's really hard for you all to see this graphic here, but after the meeting, please feel free to come up and check that out. One other thing is Highway 20 was open today, even though the areas are still in evacuation orders. That road was also opened today. So we're going to hear now from our incident meteorologist, Chip Redmond, and then after that, one of our operations section chiefs, Nate Hallam, and they're going to kind of tell you why, the reasons for the evacuation notices and the upgrades today as well.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Chip Redmond. I'm the incident meteorologist with Rocky Mountain Team 2. I'm from Kansas, so I felt a little plainer. We're a little bit more moist now. We weren't a month ago. We were in the same situation a month ago. So it's been a long fire season for some of us. A lot of that is due to the conditions we look at in the Central Pacific. Along the equator, the temperatures of the water along the equator drive a lot of our weather patterns here. We were in what was considered a La Nina, so cooler than normal water along the equator. And that led to a really, really warm, really dry winter over the last several months. In fact, when we look at this region here at Crawford and Crawford, we're running about 20 to 30% of normal precipitation over the last 3 months alone. When we talk about, we mentioned snowfall, a lot of that typically falls in the form of snow. And got about less than half, that's about 40%, got about 23 inches out of an average of 50 inches of snow. That's not nearly as much as you'd expect, and that snow also has a big impact on things like the vegetation, especially the bigger vegetation, the ponderosa pine, especially the dead down, because that snow sits there and then it melts slowly in the ground, just adds soil moisture. So when we don't get that snow, it has a long-term effect. Additionally, you guys did all right last summer with precipitation, and that shows in the grass loading out there. We've got a lot of grass vegetation to burn, and all that grass is still standing vertically. And when it's able to stand vertically, it's able to burn very hot and is much harder to control. And so we look at the landscape, all that grass is still standing, even in areas that were grazed. And so when fire moves through there, it's gonna be a lot more challenging to control than if we had snowpack over the winter that would mat that grass down and hold moisture. So a lot of factors combined with the temperatures. It has been warm. In the last 3 months, we've been averaging about 5 to 7 degrees above normal. That doesn't seem a lot, but there was a cold snap in April. There's also a cold snap in March that are also average in there. So we are not only overcoming the cold snaps, but we're running much more. We had a record heat to basically offset each of those cold snaps. So over the course of the last several days, we did have that dry lightning event that moved through. There was a fair amount of dry lightning outside of just this start. Thankfully, there weren't more fire starts in this area. Recently, precipitation has occurred to the south and east and even north of this area. And we're kind of in a donut hole here. In fact, where they had the fires here 2 months ago, they flooded because of all the rain that they received. And so that's just kind of one of those things that's how thunderstorms work. They're very isolated in nature, and then their downpours as a result are also isolated. So once that storm moved through, we had really strong west winds, which led to the fire really blowing out to the east and marching towards Crawford. And thankfully, the winds didn't shift that day. And that's really a saving grace, because if we would have had a wind shift either northwest or southwest, that would have really changed the dynamic of this. The next day, we did have that wind shift, but it allowed firefighters to make good efforts on the ground initially, especially in the areas of risk, and they were able to adjust and compensate for that. So that northwest wind was really a good test for some of the lines, but also resulted in some issues. And that's what happened yesterday, or today. So we had west and northwest. One direction we hadn't seen yet was southwest. We saw that this morning. We saw a period of, it was only about 3 or 4 hours of gusty southwest winds. And as a result, that tested this north edge. And this was really hung up along a ridge for the most part, which is one of the reasons the fire did not burn very well there. Well, unfortunately, we had that southwest wind push, and that resulted in fire movement to the north and east this morning. Thankfully, the winds have died down, and they shifted. Winds shifted out of the west and out northwest. And then eventually this evening, they're gonna be out of north and then northeast. So we're gonna have the full gamut of winds to test fire lines here just in the course of a day. So that's a really good thing, I think, moving forward. Winds have been light. We're gonna have a cold front come through tonight, get rid of this ridiculously hot and dry air, and bring some refreshing, cooler than normal temperatures for the next several days. It's also gonna bring with it some cloud cover. And unfortunately, those clouds are gonna be pretty dry. There's a line of rain that the forecast models are saying are gonna approach from the northwest, but once it gets south of the hills, it basically dissipates that rain. So maybe a scattered shower or two with these several cold fronts really over the course of the next 2 days, but there's promise there. Cooler weather, more cloud cover, higher humidity. All those are not conducive for fire spread. We're still gonna see breezy winds, primarily out of the northeast tomorrow, then northwest on Sunday, but you gotta focus on those positive things. We need that higher humidity to really slow fire activity down. Unfortunately, as you go into the forecast, we have high pressure building back in starting on Monday, and we're gonna still see northwest flow, but that's not necessarily a dry wind for this area, because that typically results in air moving down slope from the west, from the Rocky Mountains, and that tends to lead to warm, dry conditions like we saw today. And that's likely what's gonna start occurring on Monday and through the next week, at least. And so above normal temperatures are gonna return, and we're gonna also see the lower humidities. Another concern is that there is gonna be just enough moisture. This area, we need Gulf moisture to come northward. And we're not getting that just yet. We're getting those frontal passages that are pushing it off. We're getting just enough Pacific moisture to maybe trigger a thunderstorm or two next week. So I don't think there'll be much rain associated with them. So we need to just keep our eye on the forecast and be aware that there could be some additional potential concerns. Another positive though for next week is that the winds are primarily going to be out of northwest the whole week. So we won't see shifting winds. And so that's very promising if we were to have any additional fire starts. And let's not do that, stay safe. And I'll stick around if you all have questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Chip. Nathan Allen, Operations Second Chief for Rocky Mountain SM Management Team number 2. I'll give you an overall review of what we have for operations the last couple of operational shifts. I've been here for the last 3 days working on this fire, and it's been a pretty big challenge on this. With the fire growth that we've had, with the winds pushing things through the grass, and also talking about the fuel and the timber, so that access for firefighters getting in there. The terrain has been tough. Kind of like Chip was talking about, the winds have been pretty erratic with the terrain featured winds. So with that, I'll give you an overview of what we've been doing the last couple days. So as you all know, the fire did jump across the highway here that first day. Worked all this area down here, and this is Division Juliet. To kind of define what we have on the division for this map, these little quotations that we have are the breaks between the divisions. So this shows the break for Division Juliet. This is the break for Division Alpha, break for Division Zulu, and then the break for Division Delta. So that's where our operational folks are working in. We got a division supervisor out there for each one of these. This supervises all the individuals on the ground and also coordinates all the air resources that are working on the ground with them there as well. Also working in partnership with your local cooperators, your ranchers that are working out there on the ground putting out fire as well. And I will say, your local community is amazing. I was in Nebraska 2 months ago doing an operation in Ogallala, and I could not believe the outpouring of help that you all had for us there. And it really, I did not want to come back in this situation, but I'm really happy to be here to help serve you all with this fire that we have currently. So that defines our division breaks. But with the fire coming across in Division Juliet 2 days ago, this fire edge here, they wound up having to burn out through this. So that's why we had to do evacuations. We had to get people out of the way so that way firefighters could start operating. Before we can do the burnout operations though, we have to put a control line in. So you can see these hash marks on the map here. That's where we ran a dozer down through there. Ran a dozer down through it, and we had to burn out off of that edge. So fighting fire with fire, we can't wait for it to come to us because it's going to wind up jumping our lines if we do that. So we wind up doing burnout operations to send fire back into it. That way it doesn't slam our lines. So that came across here. I'm happy to say to this date right now, this is where we've increased in containment. So in Division Juliet at 1400 today, when we had an over the hood meeting, we have all of this contained in Division Juliet. So all of this is looking really good through here. Also, all the way to the division break north of Highway 20. So what they're doing in Juliet right now is continue to patrol, monitor, and mop up in that area, meaning they're driving around, seeking out areas of heat. We have infrared, what's called a drone, flying the area to find where we have areas of heat, and then they go out and seek and destroy those independent actions on those areas of heat along the boundary of the fire. We're not going way interior to put out heat unless there's a structure or a value threatened. But the stuff on the perimeters, we're really controlling it so that way the wind doesn't blow embers across our line. So that's looking really good through there in Juliet now. Tonight, they'll continue to patrol and monitor it. And then tomorrow we'll have more resources out there to continue to patrol and monitor. Moving over in Division Alpha, I'm sure this is where y'all are very interested and concerned in the past few days. So we've been working this area pretty heavily, and 2 nights ago, they wound up doing a burnout operation around Fort Robinson. They put in lines around it and got all that secured in the middle of the night, so that way there was no threat for Fort Robinson with the winds pushing the fire into that. Now after we burned that out, same as what we had to do over here. We had to jump in there and mop that area up. But now we have this whole entire area contained around Fort Robinson, all the way to Highway 20. Yesterday morning, you all might have woke up to it. Wind was coming out of the northwest. It blew embers across the road, south of Highway 20. With your local Crawford Fire Department and our folks from the incident management team, we were able to get in there and get line around that. You also have the Nebraska, I believe it's Wildlife and Parks. They were working in there as well, helping support that. This area here, though, is all heavily cottonwood in that drainage. Fire got way up in the trees, so we can't call that contained yet. We do have folks continue to patrol, monitor, and mop up that edge, but when those winds pick up like that, we can't get inside of those trees for the limbs falling down on people. We don't want to get crushed by a tree out there whenever that wind's blowing. So what we're doing, when the wind dies down, we'll get in there, we'll start snagging the trees that need to come down, meaning we'll cut those big trees that are burning down, and then the other areas we'll mop up underneath it. We're probably looking 2 days out until we have complete containment on the stuff on the south side of Highway 20. But I'm feeling really good at where we're at right now. We're gonna have resources out there through today, through the night, through tomorrow, and into tomorrow night. So, and then we'll continue to assess until we have that control. Moving on over into Alpha. Fire came down 2 days ago, burnt, or actually 3 days ago. Sorry, my days are mixed up, a couple days ago. And it got pretty close to Crawford here. Resources were able to pick it up where the fuels transition happened though. So when these fires come out of the trees and get down in just grass only, we can actually get out there and control that a lot easier. When it's in the timber, we'll have up to 50 to 100 foot flame lengths coming through that. So that's almost impossible for us to get put out. So whenever it got down out of that timber, we were able to get engaged on that and get that all contained. You will also see on tomorrow's map, this is where we have increased containment all the way up to the Holmgren Road. So you get up in here though, we have a pretty good drainage of timber in here, and this afternoon I seen some heat in that. So we put some resources on it. Local ranchers were mopping that up as well. So we got that buttoned up, it's controlled in there, but there's still active fire in those drainages that keep popping up in that heavy duff layer where there's a lot of vegetation that's built up over the years. It's just hard to get in there and mop all that up, stirring it up with water. It takes a lot of time to get that put out. Moving on up into Division Zulu. Kind of breaks right up here on the Houston Road or Houston Drive. So up in here in Division Zulu, this is where we've been continuing to work that edge. So we had to wait for the fire to come down off the hill. We tried to catch it up high. We were hitting it with retardants, so those very large air tankers. We were trying to put mud in there to catch it up on the timber or the ridge line, but the fire was burning right through our retardant. So we had to wait for the fire to come down to the toe of the slope to where we could actually get access to it, where that fuels transition happened. And they were able to catch it up through here, all the way until we get up to the Red Rock Road, Moody Road Junction. This area today, this is where it wound up pushing up all the way to the Rim Rock Road. This is all steep, rugged terrain, so this fire with the southwest wind really wanted to push this direction today. And that's where we've got a lot of our activity working out there, a lot of our folks working currently. So in Division Zulu and the Delta break, so same, more the same. So we got all this rugged terrain you can see on the map. The fire has progressed north, and it's moved all the way up to Rimrock Road here now currently. I was out there about an hour ago. Resources have gone in here with a dozer at the toe of the slope where it gets less steep. We've got a dozer line all the way down here, tied it into the other lines that we had, and the hotshot crews burned this out. And they burned it out all the way to the drainage, and now we're trying to figure out a way to get them to work overnight. So we're trying to get them meals delivered, so they're gonna wind up working a 24-hour shift out there tonight, and they're gonna continue to try to work this up, all the way up into the division break. This is where things get tricky. If anybody's familiar with the Cottonwood Road, when you get up north here, Cottonwood Road winds up coming up through this adverse terrain up high. And that's where we're trying to catch it before it gets to that road. We have a couple areas that are timber free, it's all grass, but it's coming down with timber on either side that we're gonna try to get a dozer line down through there tonight. And that's where we're looking to try to get that contained. If we can't get that, we're gonna be bumping on up to Cottonwood Road, burning off of Cottonwood Road there, and bringing it around and tying it in what we already have control. Moving into Division Delta, yesterday and today, they were able to get containment all the way to this point. So we had a hotshot crew, Black Hills Fire Module, and then your local ranchers and some other state resources helping us out with that. But we got line all the way up to the drainage here for Soldier Creek. This is where about 2 o'clock, I was up in the helicopter today, things started to pick up. We wound up, the winds were pretty strong through here, and they got it tied into the Soldier drainage, but when they went to come back up the slope here, it started pushing north on them. And we wound up with 20 to 40 foot flame leaks through there. Firefighters on the ground just can't actively engage in that. It's just too hot. We're gonna get somebody killed doing that. We brought in more retardant. We put retardant across the hill here, and we put a lot in there, and it still burned through it. So we currently stopped with retardant. We have 2 Scooper planes out there, and we have 2 Type 1 helicopters, so our very large helicopters, that they're actively working with our boots on the ground to slowly progress line along that black edge and increase containment. So what they're doing is dropping loads in front of the crew to cool it down. The crew comes in and digs line behind it. Drop more water ahead of it, dig more line. So it's a slow process, and it's very methodical. We have to have a way to get people out of there too if the wind shifts. So there's a lot of thought process in this, We want to contain the fire, but we don't want to get firefighters hurt. So, moving into tonight's operations, and I'm more primarily focused on Delta and Zulu, because we're looking really good down here in Juliet and Alpha. It's going to continue to patrol and monitor in these areas, make sure we're looking good through the night in all our containment holes. But up here is where our efforts are going with a lot of our resources to stop this northerly growth, because it could wind up getting up in the next timber drainage up to the north, beyond Cottonwood. So what we got tonight is dozer lines and trying to find areas of containment through here where we can get it down through this adverse terrain and get it down into the flatter grounds. It's been a struggle, I won't lie. It's a tough piece of ground out there to work. If anybody's ever been out there, if you measured it from here on the division break for Delta from here to here, as the crow flies, maybe it's only 5 miles. If you spread out all that adverse terrain, you probably got 30 miles worth of line that they're digging, up and down through those drainages. So it takes a while. And no aviation assets are going to put the fire out without boots on the ground following it up to control it. So that's where we're at up on the north end of the fire. We'll continue to work that for you all tonight, and we'll have folks back out there tomorrow morning and continue to work a strategy to contain that. That's all I got, and I'll talk to you all later if you have questions.
Thanks, Nate and Chip. Now we're going to have our agency administrators and those that we work closely with. Our agency administrators are those that brought us, asked us to come in and help manage the fire, and we work really for them, and I'll let them introduce themselves as well, and then we'll hear from one of our incident commanders as well.
Good evening, I'm Joel Beckman. I'm the state rep, the agency administrator coming out of the Nebraska Emergency Management Agency. I hope to never have to work with any of you guys again. I typically work in critical infrastructure and public assistance on the state side. And I say that with the best intentions. When I have to go out to the field, communities need help. And we asked Complex Incident Management Team 2 if they had availability, and they came out to support based off of working with our federal partners at the United States Forest Service. A couple priorities of work that we do have, just like to make everybody aware. The first thing that we have in our minds at any ops briefing, anytime that we go out to the field or deploy a firefighting crew into the black, is firefighter safety, and that ultimately leads to the community safety at large. Whether that be for your historical, your community well-being, or your human resources, which you do yourselves. Another priority that we have is to minimize fire impact with the community at large, and that goes into bringing your livelihoods back. At the end of the day, the CIMT will leave, and this will be a fire that is needing to be recovered for through your communities, your counties, and the state of Nebraska. The state of Nebraska currently is working with over 15 state partners, ranging from the Nebraska Department of Transportation, Nebraska Department of Water, Environment, and Energy, they just changed their name. The State Historical Preservation Office, specifically working for any artifact locations outside of Fort Robinson and getting Fort Robinson back in working order. In addition to that, we work with local and outside of the region first responders, whether that be volunteer fire organizations, Task Force 1 based out of Omaha and Lincoln, or if we need to bring anybody else in addition that has special training in order to respond to this fire. Like I said, at the end of the day, the CIMT will leave and we will need to hand this back to the locals. Typically I work in disaster recovery on my day-to-day basis, and as you guys know, recovery takes forever. Response is a snap of a finger. We have disasters in this state that can last 10 years to both recover from physically and financially. And we have submitted and have been approved for what's called a Fire Management Assistance Grant. That is for us as on the state side to monetarily pay for a lot of the additional things that we typically do not have at our disposal. So we were moving, I don't want to say mountains, but we were moving mountains in order to make sure that this incident is taken care of properly, both trying to save as much land as we can possibly, and also fiscally responsible. I will be available for any questions throughout the day. I'll hand it over to U.S. Forest Service.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Gert. I am the Deputy Forest Supervisor here on the Nebraska National Forest and Grasslands. Yeah, I know you've heard it several times that we do truly thank you all for all the support to our local VFDs, the donations, the thoughts, everything. I can't say enough about it. We appreciate everything that has come to us and has helped us out. We cannot do what we do without you. You're going to hear that time and time again. When this fire started, we knew, the boots on the ground knew pretty quickly, due to the drought, due to the wind, we were going to need some assistance. And we had talked with our state, with our county, NAN, with a whole slew of partners. And the decision was made to call the team. The team came in and we established what our priorities are and will continue to be: firefighter safety, public safety, Crawford, Fort Rock. Those will not change. So in working with this fire, working with this team, they have been implementing that. Thank you. And I believe they're going to leave us in a good place when this is all said and done. We still got some time. We got some things to do, and we're not done yet. But we are going to be left in a really good spot. And when the team does leave, we are still going to be here, and we will still be in the community. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. We are here. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Smith. I'm an incident commander trainee for Rocky Mountain Team 2. And you've heard from our team. You've heard the challenges we faced. You've heard the weather that is happening right now. It's happened in over the winter, and what we're looking at over the next few weeks. We've seen such an outpouring, and just to build on what everybody's saying about our local partners, we have 70 volunteer fire engines here from the state of Nebraska. So I know you all appreciate them, but I would double down on that because they've done an amazing job stepping up to the plate, stepping away from their day-to-day lives, their families, and they're out there in the mix with all the folks that we're bringing in from outside. I wanted to talk about a few things tonight. The first thing is the process. Amanda started to talk about it, and when we get here, one of the first things that we do is start to talk about the critical values that are being threatened. And this all starts long before we get here. Before each fire season, federal partners get with the county and the state and the locals, and they start talking about what are our values. And it's a little bit broader scale, but it's also talking about how are we going to cooperate and coordinate during these events. So when those events happen, the team will come in and we sit down with partners who have brought us in and have a really frank discussion, because we want to figure out exactly what the priorities are, why they're priorities, and what are the outcomes if things are damaged or destroyed. And if you want to frame the reference, the way we build the discussion is if we only had one hotshot crew or one load of retardant because there are so many other fires going on, where would we put it? And that's how we frame the values discussion. So as we did that, you heard, public and firefighter safety is always number one. Every year we continue to kill firefighters, we continue to drill down and focus more and more, so we lower that number every year. Then we came up, we talked about Crawford, we talked about Fort Robb, and then the third one is all the grazing land. We understand how important that is to the community, to everybody's livelihoods, and so Then from there, we start saying, from a strategic view, from the big picture, how are we going to protect those things? And we have a lot of discussion around that, and then we look at the risk to firefighters for each of these actions. So when you hear how difficult this terrain is up here, we're looking at how long it would take to get a injured firefighter out. Can we get them out in an appropriate time and get them to a hospital? We owe them that due diligence. So once we've worked through the strategic risk of all this stuff, then we can start really looking at tactics, and our ops chiefs and division supervisors can come up with that plan on the ground. And that's how we get to these decisions. But I'll tell you, when I first pulled in Wednesday afternoon, and we planned on putting our camp here in Crawford, and within about 7 minutes, I realized that we're dropping large air tanker drops right behind, I should say, I think it's over here, I'm a little disoriented in the building. Sorry, over there. But we're dropping retardant right back here. We're inside the evacuation zone where we planned on putting the camp. So we had to actually look at that. And the other piece of it is the amount of smoke that was here on Wednesday afternoon, and looking at the forecast. We don't want to have our firefighters sleeping in that smoke. We want to get them out of the air. They've been in that stuff all day long. We need to get them into clean air. We need to take care of them. It's a trade-off. We always want to be as close to the fire as we can. We want to minimize the amount of drive time that they have, because there's a hazard involved with that. But when we look at the health benefits of getting folks out and away from that, that's how we came up with the decision. We're continuing to use this as a little bit of a forward operating base. We are continuing to work out of here. We have people coming in and out of here. And once the team has gotten done with the job we were hired to do, it'll go back down to, it's still going to be have an incident management or an incident commander. It's just going to be a lower complexity incident commander. And they're going to be coming right back in here into Crawford, and you'll see more of a base here. So by no means have we just picked up and gone to Chadron. We just needed to take care of a few things, primarily firefighters. And a lot of our people on our team are not firefighters. The people that work in finance, the people that work in logistics. And they're just as nervous about fire. Their job is to show up, and they're working in the base camp, and they're walking around in tennis shoes. They got green pants, and they look like they fit in, but the reality is they're probably just as scared when we get close up to the fire. We need to keep that in mind as well. So that's all the reasoning that we go through when we think about where we're going to put that camp. And if you've seen one of those big camps, if you go into Chadron, it is a city. Currently we got 240-ish people here, but we plan for this thing to be able to go as big as it needs to go. And we don't want to have to move camp. So there's a lot of stuff. It's a large juggernaut that we build, and so we don't want to have to try and pivot and move that. So those are the things that I really wanted to talk about, but I want to say the coordination and cooperation between local, state, county, federal partners. The local fire department has been phenomenal. When we're on day 2, it feels like we've been here a lot longer for us, and I'm sure for you as well. The fire department has stepped up. We've had a couple of times when we didn't have enough meals for people, or we didn't plan for people to be in this place or that. That's part of us getting our feet under us. The local fire department has truly stepped up and done more than could be expected from them. So please make sure you thank them when you see them. Other than that, I just can't say enough about this community, and we're going to continue to do good work for you, and I'll be hanging out, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But I do thank you all for coming out, for your interest.
Yeah, as we close out here, I just want to highlight what we just heard from Mike about the coordination between local, state, and federal. And we've got your city mayor here, also Amy. Would you like to come up and say, yeah?
That's all right. April Grant, I think I recognize most of you as you came in the door this evening. Thank you so much for coming out and joining us. It's important that we know exactly what's happening with such a frightening thing that we have in our backyard. Mike, if I could call you back up here really quick. I know there was something that, as I spoke to people as they came in, everybody has kind of a general consensus or concern. And I think you guys did a great job of covering everything but the timeline. And I know that timeline is definitely not definitive, and it can be always changing, but if you could describe where you believe we are within that timeline, you know, what do we need to have contained to feel like we're closer to the middle, something along those lines, so that we have kind of a justification to feel like, you know, okay, we've made it this far, or that we feel like we're making progress.
Did you see the buses drive over me?
We've got an excellent transportation team.
You know, this is something that's really hard to say. What I can say is you heard from Chip about the weather. You heard from Nate about the progress that we're making and the challenges that we face. We've now got a significantly bigger piece of containment. Our containment percentage is growing. That last piece of dirt is a challenge. I'm not gonna lie. I think Nate did a really good job of explaining what's going on. But to put a time frame on it, I certainly think that we've got the cooler weather, the higher humidities, for a couple of days. And we're gonna take as much advantage of that window to get in and button this thing up. You're not gonna nail me down on this, but we are doing the best that we can, and we will continue to push as hard as we can, keeping in mind firefighter and public safety, and making sure that we value all of the values at risk out there. We are doing everything we can to save every acre of grazing land that we can. We are trying to minimize the impact on the land. So we're chunking away. Just know that there is no point in time that we are not diligently at this. We are staffing it 24/7, and we will continue to do so until this community is in a much better place.
Mike, you did an excellent job answering my question. I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that. I think from what they've given us, it's very fair to say that we've got an excellent start to this. I want to reiterate what we've heard a lot of times tonight, is that we have a lot to thank our local division for. Not only are they outstanding in our own area, we've also got the rural companies that assist with that, our sisters here, or brothers, I guess would maybe be fair to say, and Shattern that come over to help. I did get the opportunity to speak to a couple of the firefighters and the trucks that came in from far away, and I couldn't help but feel immense pride, because they said that when their towns were burning down not that long ago, we came really far, and they were really surprised to see our local guys at their facility, and they didn't think twice to come back and help us. So please take that pride in your hearts. I know our guys work really hard so that we can feel that way, and I guess use it to give yourself some reassurance and some security at this time where we're really just not sure what's going on. But I will reiterate, we're in very, very good hands. We're very lucky that our guys got such a good start on this to begin with. We got the right calls to the right people to get them in just as fast as they could get here. It was amazing how fast they showed up and how fast the progress was that they made, setting up camp, making progress. Right now, I think the best thing that we can do, especially from the city's perspective, is to make sure that we can be the best hosts that we can be. We have offered everything that we have. They have not taken everything that we have. They take what they need, and that's it. They are a very well-oiled machine, and they know what they need, and they know what they don't need. But we are here, and we are available with whatever they need, whenever they need it, no matter how that changes as we go through that process. So that's not a problem. And in addition to that, you know, just the generosity that we can share with them. Thank you so much for coming to our community, helping us save what means so much to all of us. You know, it's not just the material things or our homes, but it's our livelihoods. We've got a lot of people that have been here for a long time, some really deep roots, and it's just been a blessing to have you guys here. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you to each and every one of you. I know you guys are reporting numbers of 200-300 individuals that are coming here. I don't know that I believe you. There's a lot more that I see. So it really does feel like you're coming in droves, but hey, we'll take all that you want to offer. We appreciate every bit of it, and thank you all.
Thank you, April. We also have Senator Storer with us tonight as well. And then we're also going to have a couple of folks around. We have Chad Duggan here from the U.S. Forest Service to answer questions, and representatives from from electric companies as well. I know that's a big question for others. So with that, I know you all probably have questions, want to look at some maps, want to talk to some officials. So we're going to go ahead and end our meeting here and let you all mill around and talk. I'm going to just do one plug for, like we said, April mentioned, we provide food and water for our firefighters. We do this all over the country, so donations are amazing. We feel loved and showered with them. But your local fire department has been, like she said, and local folks have been just giving and giving. So if you feel the need to give, there is a QR code paper on the back table that if you scan that money goes to your local fire department. We also there's also an account set up. It's a DAWS account, I believe, set up in Chadron for those that have been affected as well. So look for those places and also reach out to your local fire department too if they have specific things that you could donate. That would be very much appreciated. And thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate it.